Hello guys, RMP792 here. Right, I've just done the little vlog to give my final thoughts on Tales from the Borderlands, and now it's time for the one where I give my final thoughts on Life is Strange. I reviewed Life is Strange originally after episodes 1 through 3 had come out, and I didn't do anything when episode 4 came out other than record the Let's Play, because I wanted to wait for episode 5 to come up to give my final thoughts. So, episode 4 is pretty good. It's certainly up to the standards of episodes 1 through 3. It's got some good moments, it's tense, and there's a couple of good puzzles. Episode 5 is not very good. The problem with episode 5, and I'm gonna have to delve into massive spoilers here, so if you haven't watched the Let's Play or you want to actually play the game yourself, be warned. Right. The big reveal at the end of episode 4 is, of course, that Mr. Jefferson has actually been the murderer all along. Sorry, I've got all kinds of bits and bobs on my desk that I just tend to play with when I'm talking. So, we now know that Mr. Jefferson is the murderer, which, yeah, it didn't surprise me, put it that way. And so, it's an oh my god cliffhanger, and you wake up in his sort of murdering dungeon, and then the opening of the episode isn't actually that bad, where you're using your time travel abilities to try and tweak something in the past to let you not end up in this dungeon. So you travel back to an earlier point in the in the evening to try and figure something out, and that's not very helpful. And you eventually end up traveling back in time to effectively the beginning of the week, right back at the first time you wake up in the classroom, and you basically send a message that drops him in it, and everything's great, everything's spiffy. He's now he's now been arrested, and Nathan's been arrested for helping him, and everything's going pretty well, and you've won the competition, going off. And then that big hurricane that's been coming hits Arcadia Bay while you're away, and you end up going back and forth and back and forth, and the hurricane plot sucked. It really did. The hurricane has been kind of teased all the way through this game as this kind of vaguely apocalyptic event coming at the end of the week that's going to destroy the town and kill everyone there. And as a plot point, it just sucked. Because, okay, it's meant to be the classic, the beat of the butterfly's wings, can spiral out in unexpected ways to cause a hurricane. It's one of your classic time travel arguments. Sorry, my throat's going again. I'm probably going to have to take a mint. Yes, I've still not quite got over my cold from last week, so I'm popping Tic Tacs like you wouldn't believe. Don't know why. Tic Tacs really good for sore throats. Anyway, they are Tic Tacs. Before anybody accusing me of taking drugs live, well, not live, but taking drugs on camera or anything like that, I promise they are just Tic Tacs. Anyway, but yes, the classic argument of the hurricane is that you can't predict the consequences. It doesn't actually mean that if you time travel, there's going to be a literal hurricane that's going to destroy everything. And the final choice of the game, which is not affected by anything that's come before, to the best of my knowledge, is fairly simple. You can either travel back in time and kill Chloe, or let Chloe die, I should say. In fact, restoring the timeline to what it was before you started screwing around with it. Or you let Arcadia Bay be destroyed, and you survive with Chloe. Yeah, this choice is terrible. And that's not just because I'm one of these people who likes a proper happy ending. Don't get me wrong, I like a proper happy ending, even if it, especially in video games, where it's something that I often find that I like to have a kind of perfect outcome that you could achieve if you're really good at the game. But with that said, the main problem... Sorry. Bloody cold. I will be so happy when this thing buggers off for good. But yes, the main problem I have is that, one, you have absolutely no evidence that going... Oh, for the love of Pete. Okay, but yes, you have absolutely no evidence that going back in time and letting Chloe die is going to reset the timeline in such a way that this hurricane isn't going to happen, because that's not how hurricanes work. Um, then you've got the issue of it's a dumb choice. It's the classic one life to say many argument, and I've always hated that as an argument. It's a narrative cliche that I am not a fan of personally. Um, then you've got the fact that I've now seen both endings, and I completely get what a lot of people on the Steam forums are saying, which is that one ending, specifically the one where you go back in time and kill Chloe, is a lot longer. And frankly, it feels like a hell of a lot more effort was put into it. Um, so, yeah, it honestly feels like if you were like me and you chose to say, screw the town, I don't care about any of these people, most of them are tossers, I'm going to save Chloe. Yeah, it felt like you just got to kind of, God, you're a horrible person, or I have this, crap ending that's only like 10 seconds long. And I certainly get where those people are coming from. I don't agree with it personally, but again, I would have liked to see more there. As I can completely understand why so many people are disappointed with this ending, because yeah, I'm disappointed with it too. At the end of the day, if I had been the one doing this, I would have ditched the hurricane plot entirely. The entire last episode should have been about Mr. Jefferson, and it should have been about trying to bring him to justice one way or another. And that should have been the choice. Do you, let Chloe stay dead in order to bring him to justice for that? Do you, find another way that lets Chloe live, but potentially leads to him getting away with murder and potentially being able to murder again? There's a lot more interesting things they could have done there that they just didn't. And unfortunately, Mr. Jefferson himself was just a really boring serial killer stereotype at the end of the day. Yes, he was a bit creepy. Yes, he was a bit menacing. Yes, he had a thing for taking photos. We've seen it all before, is my problem. And there was honestly a lot more they could have done with him. Or potentially even the idea that there was some pivotal event in his childhood that made him like this, and maybe you could go back and change that, and that would really screw up the timeline. And again, interesting things you could do with this idea that they just didn't. As I think their single biggest mistake was that tornado subplot, because it was just terrible. I mean, yeah, that really is the sticking point, isn't it? And at the end of the day, it's like Mass Effect all over again. I'm not one of the people who hated the ending of Mass Effect 3. I'm not one of those people who reckoned it ruined the entire series up to that point. But here, I honestly think the series has been let down really, really badly by this ending. Because up until this last episode, the series was doing really well. It was a damn good, adventure game with some interesting ideas and writing that was kind of hit and miss here and there. A lot of bits of dialogue were like, oh Christ, do teenagers really talk like that? Is this what they're actually like, or is this just what a man in his 30s thinks teenagers talk like? But the characters were endearing, and I really liked most of them. So yeah, at the end of the day, the ending was very, very disappointing, and yeah, frankly, that's kind of my final thought on it. Episodes 1 through 4 are really, really good. Episode 5, really disappointing. And in something like that, yeah, it does drag the whole series down. I wouldn't necessarily, I wouldn't go back and change my recommendation to negative on the Steam page, but I'm probably going to go back and put a little disclaimer in that says, episode 5 is just not very good. And be prepared for that. Again, it's the it's wasted potential. Really, there's a lot more interesting things they could have done than that. Frankly, really, really disappointing ending. And in particular, as I say, I think that hurricane subplot they could have ditched it completely and done something more interesting. Focus. As I say, I think they should have just focused the entire last episode on the dynamic between Max and Mr. Jefferson, on that whole serial killer victim mentality, and on finding a way to stop it. So that's my final thoughts on Life is Strange. This one's a little bit longer than my thoughts on Tales from the Borderlands, but right. So all I will really say is thank you very much for watching this little vlog, and hopefully regular content will be resuming very soon. And until then, thank you very much for watching.